Welcome to the Deadology Podcast from Pencil Hill Studio, New Paltz, New York. I'm your host, Howard Weiner. Today is November 6, 2023. 2 days ago, November 4th, I celebrated my 60th birthday, and a couple of shows from November 4th will be the topic of this episode, episode 14 of the Deadology Podcast. One Garcia band show, one Dead show. We're going to unpack the music of the Grateful Dead and Cotterill Jim, November 4th, 1977. And then we'll take a look at the Jerry Garcia Band show at the Palace Theater in Albany, New York, November 4th, 1981. These are both intimate venues, upstate New York, and this was a great time period for the Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia Band, Deadheads. Upstate New York was a breeding ground for Deadheads, especially in this period. The Grateful Dead were doing okay commercially, not great, but they were building up an amazing, intense following, especially in the New York State and Northeast area. They already had their fans out west in the California area, but they really got a stronghold here in upstate New York. We'll start off with the 77 Dead show at Colgate University, Hamilton, New York, Cotterill Jim. And prior to that, 1977 was a year of great excitement, anticipation for the Grateful Dead and their fans, especially in the Northeast. You had that great May run, all those great shows, May of 77. And of course, everybody knows the Cornell show, May 8th. And Cornell is only about a little less than an hour from Colgate University. And also in 1977, in that general area, you had the big Englishtown show, 150,000 fans out there. That caused great excitement and built the momentum was rolling. We also had the release of Terrapin Station, and all the great songs that brought into the band's repertoire, including Terrapin, Samson, Passenger, just to name a few. It was also the year Scarlet Fire and Estimated Eyes were born live in concert. Huge year. And to kind of top it all off, they had the Grateful Dead movie was released, I believe it was in June of 77. So yeah, just a great momentum rolling that year. So let's go to Cotterill Jim, the smallest venue the Grateful Dead played on that 1977 tour. For a basketball game, the gym will hold about 1,750 spectators. For a concert, they managed to pack 3,000 into this tiny place, and I actually went and visited the place last year. Beautiful little gym, but you can't imagine if you walk into this gym and look around. Almost impossible to imagine the Grateful Dead packed 3,000 in there, just the Grateful Dead and all their equipment getting in there. The place must have been a packed tinderbox that night on November 4th. And a friend of mine who has a blog, a great blog we're checking out, it's called Grateful Seconds, Dave Davis, wrote a little bit about the November 4th show. And so there were 3,000 tickets available. 700 were available to the public Deadheads, and 2,300 went to students of Colgate University. And I'm sure the campus had a lot of Deadheads there already, but I'd probably guess that a lot of that 2,300 somehow ended up in the hands of other Deadheads. But just an incredible place to see the Grateful Dead really at the height of their rock and roll powers in 1977. There's very few. This 3-night run, November 4th. They were in. Let's take it back a sec. They came from Seneca College, November 2nd, and Toronto was before they went to Colgate. So they're at Colgate November 4th. November 5th, they're in Rochester. And November 6th, they're in Binghamton. And that 3-night run is as good as it gets. That will stand up toe-to-toe with any 3-night run in Grateful Dead history as far as I'm concerned. So let's dig in a little bit here. Set 1. I'm going to go through set 1 pretty quickly because set 2 is where most of the magic happens in the show. But the Grateful Dead came out rocking. They had it going. Birth of Good Love and to open. Great versions of Brown Eyed Women and Cassidy. The band is just so tight. Garcia is ripping. And the show is just, it's kind of begging for the right songs to come along at this point. It must have been the Roses. Donna does her new tune, Sunrise. I very much like the melody of that song. I think it's a little bit of a maligned song. It's pretty cool, and Donna sings good. May not be the greatest lyrics, but it's always kind of enjoyed Sunrise. Then a rompin' New Minglewood, and then the set comes to a real nice peak with two songs, which is the key to this first set. Dupree's Diamond Blues, and I believe this is, counting up the songs now, that's in the 8th spot of the first set. Dupree's, they stopped playing Dupree's back in 1969, and then they brought it back. Nice little surprise. I think Portland was the first show they brought it back at the beginning of October. I think this is the 4th version of Dupree's in 1977, so it was a very welcome song to bring back to the rotation. And of the Dupree's from this time period, I think this one is the best. It's got that folksy, like 69 vibe to it, yet it has the rock and roll power that the Dead were exuding in 1977. Jerry singing on it is terrific. So it's a very cool Dupree's Diamond Blues. And then the set ends with what was developing into one of their great show-stopping endings, Let It Grow. This is a 14-minute Let It Grow, probably the second best of this year. If we go back 5-6 days to DeKalb, October 29th. And they played in DeKalb, Illinois, and that's a legendary Let It Grow, where just the guitar jamming is so crazy. It's so obvious. It just grabs you. There's no way you could listen to this version and not recognize it as a great version. That's how hot it is. But this Colgate one is equally impressive. It's just a little sneakier, not as over the top in your face as the DeKalb version, but a lot of great jamming. And the second solo goes on real long. It's like Jerry doesn't want to quit. A very jazzy, subtle feel to it, but definitely a powerhouse Let It Grow. So that's the first set, and the band takes a break, and everybody's kind of taking it in. They're seeing the Grateful Dead in this amazing small gym. And they come out for the second set, and things will never be the same. So in typical Grateful Dead fashion, they got a few tuning issues. Bob's trying to get the band sound just exactly perfect. And then Phil Lesh steps to the mic and delivers one of the most famous introductions in Grateful Dead history.
Well, at this time, I think it would be propitious for us to introduce the band. We're the Jones Gang, folks. Over here on stage right, we have Mr. Keith Jones on the keyboards. To his immediate left, on the electric guitar, we have Jerry Jones. And of course, on drums, the one and only Julius P. Jones. In center stage, ladies and gentlemen, a star whose name has gone beyond him, even unto the farthest galaxies, Bob Jones. On drums back here, we have also, actually, I'm Phil Jones, and that's Mick Jones. And now I'd like to introduce all the other Joneses.
All the other Joneses were there. Donna Jones on vocals. Who knows? Bob Dylan's Mr. Jones may have even been there. Hey, by the way, I've got Dylan on my mind. I'm going to see him at the Capitol Theater in Portchester tomorrow night. He's the amazing survivor, Bob Dylan. But anyway, let's get back to Colgate, set 2. So the Jones Gang, a.k.a. the Grateful Dead, come out and rip the place apart, rip the tiny building gym apart with Samson and Delilah. And that song went through quite a transition from 1976, the year earlier, when it had a funkier vibe to it. Definitely some good guitar work, instrumentals on it. But in 1977, it became a straight out romp 'em, stomp 'em, rock and roll, kick the door down, get the joint jumping. And they surely did that in Colgate. Great opening Samson, searing guitar leads. And then they delivered a beautiful surprise with the following tune.
If I had my way, if I had my way, if I had my way, I wouldn't tear this old building down. I wouldn't tear this old building down. Well, I married me, oh my, she's been trouble on my life. Run me out in the cold, rain and snow, rain and snow. Run me.
I'm going where those chilly winds don't blow. The first Cold Rain and Snow they played in 1977. They saved it up for Colgate. It probably would have been a fitting song last time they played in New York, which was a show you may have heard of before, May 8th, Cornell Barton Hall. That was a cold and rainy May day, and that song would have been perfect for that occasion, but they may have been thinking of it, may have been a little flashback to Cornell there, as they surprised the faithful with a Cold and Rain on the heels of a Smokin' Samson. After Cold and Rain, they go into Playing in the Band. And Playing in the Band in 1977, definitely a different vibe than your 72, the mind-boggling 72 psychedelic versions, some of the greatest music the Grateful Dead ever played. When they break into these 1977 versions, they feel like they're almost more of a setup for serving the bigger purpose of what's to come in the song segues. And on this version, the drummers kind of lead the way, coming out of the vocal part. And this is the first chance the Colgate really gets to experience the majesty of Grateful Dead weirdness. Garcia and company whittle on. And as they're looking at the next segment they're going to do, it seems like Bob Weir starts strumming little things that are hint of Eyes of the World. Jerry picks up on it. And sure enough, they go into Eyes of the World. The first time that they ever played going into Eyes of the World. And this whole second set is full of the Grateful Dead at their best, taking chances, doing things they never did, breaking out the Cold Rain on the heels of Samson, and plenty more to come. So the Eyes of the World is really interesting stuff as they break into this Eyes. It's the word smooth would not be right to apply to it, but they come in at a terrific tempo. One of the quickest Eyes you'll ever as they break into it. We're strumming away and Garcia strumming away, and it's an amazing musical conversation. They're trying to find the right tempo. As a listener, I'm sure people in Colgate, people listening to it in the future, and people listening to it now, it sounds so good. But they're definitely kind of having this conversation a little quicker, a little slower, and it's amazing. It's breathtaking. And then when they finally seem to settle on the tempo and they break it down and almost start over again in that introduction to Eyes, Garcia can't help himself. He just starts peeling off these speed licks and off to the races again. And once again, you have that contrast of where they want to go with it, yet it sounds amazing. It doesn't sound sloppy at all. It's one of the more unusual introductions to Eyes, and the crowd goes nuts. You can even hear it on the soundboard tape, just to an approval of how amazing it was. And they jump in, and the first jam, the band is just moving so confidently. And Garcia's playing around with the crowd with these beautiful licks. Excellent first jam. Second jam, they fully take this eyes. One of the better ones of the year, but it's a year loaded with great eyes. I'm not going to put it on the level of some of the other ones like the Fox Theater or St. Louis, but definitely a very hot eyes, well played, almost like anyone from '77. And then comes another combination, another risk-taking venture in Colgate as they go from Eyes of the World into Estimated Profit. And the Grateful Dead in the future would do this a few times, reverse the iconic combo, but this was the very first time that they went from Eyes into Estimated. And Estimated, once again, keeping the college crowd engaged in this very hot Estimated Profit. And Garcia's jamming away at the end, kind of like a Russian fiddler. Yeah, it's amazing stuff to hear these 77, the wah-wah pedal going. So the Mutron guitar filter pedal. So yeah, we got this amazing outro, and Estimated segues into the other one. And this was only, I think, the second time they did Estimated other one. And it's devastating, this other one. It's a one verse other one. We lose a few points on that. Everybody loves a full-bodied, full version other one. But my God, this is 5 minutes of sheer terror. Garcia's playing is incredible. It's, they just wind it around and crazy guitar jams. The whole band's just rocking. And there's this Cotterell gym, 3,000 people in there. You couldn't fit in another piece of musical equipment. It must have been that tight in there. And the band is just, they're blowing the roof off the place, as they say. So a great 5 minute other one. There probably is no other version that you could say 5 minutes, that's great. But this one, they just do the first verse and that's the end of it. Right into drums. And a cool thing about this little Mickey Billy drums here, it's very focused. I don't have the time on it, but it seems like it's a little 5-6 minute drum break. The playing is fantastic in it, and that's because it's done with a purpose. It's headed towards Iko Iko. And of course, that's a great song that went on to be a beloved Dead classic, never overplayed. Always seemed to get played the right amount of times, kind of like earlier in the show, Dupree's Diamond, another Grateful Dead classic, which was never overplayed. You were lucky to catch it once, maybe twice a tour at the most. But the cool thing about this was the fourth time they played Iko Iko. And the first three versions, all in '77, the first time they played was in St. Louis on May 15th. They seemed like precursor versions, like they were almost introducing the next song. Hey, we got this new thing, Iko Iko, let's do it before Not Fade Away. And they kind of threw it out there for a few minutes, and it was very cool. Obviously, it worked good. They went back to it. But this Iko Iko is, I think, really the first full-bodied one where they do all the verses, 3 instrumentals, Jerry going off. Keith has a nice solo in it. Just, the great feel, nice and relaxed. So the band's totally cooking after this drums. You got your Iko Iko, and then it goes... it takes like the first little kind of almost stopping time in its tracks with Stella Blue, and such a beautiful version. Jerry singing great, and it's what the show needed at that time, and it was like the perfect selection. Hell, maybe a Morning Dew couldn't have hurt either, but besides Morning Dew, I think Stella is about as good as you're going to get in that spot. So Jerry gives it his all. It all rolls into one. They dig in, stop the time in the tracks, let Colgate take the whole thing in, if it's possible, take in what was going on that night. And just the ending guitar solo here, it goes on for about 4 minutes, probably one of the longest Stella jams. And that's kind of, in Colgate, they were, as rocking as the show was, as tight as everything was, they were taking their time, really expanding on all the tunes. So great stellar outro, just winding around and around. The band's ripping, and they work it back into playing in the band. And I mean, you could almost forget you were even in a playing loop here. There was so much great music in between, but they work it back to playing in the band, and it's just such a amazing statement here. I think a pounding, conclusive, just celebratory playing in the band. They work back a nice little jam to get into the reprise part, and they bring it on home, crash the ending as triumphant as a playing in the band reprise could be, and that ends the set. And it's beautiful the way in 1977 they did that on a couple occasions. Their playing loops would end the set. In the Fox Theater they did it when they had that beautiful playing wheel. China Doll was playing, actually Uncle John's drums, wheel, China Doll back into playing. And they also did it at one of the Palladium shows. I believe it was May 4th. It was like a Comes a Time back into the playing. But yeah, really powerful when they ended the set with playing like that, and gave it their all. So just overall an incredible set, nothing like it. There's really no tape out there you could say, oh yeah, that's kind of like Colgate. Colgate definitely has its own distinctive vibe. You got the unique combinations in reverse. Cold Rain and Samson would go on to be a Grateful Dead favorite to open a set, but here you get Samson, Cold Rain. You got the breakout of Cold Rain and Ico. Just very, very cool. And then the encore with Johnny Be Good, the perfect rock and roll number to end the night. Once again, extremely powerful. A show like no other. The Grateful Dead doing it again. A band beyond description. Next up, we got the Jerry Garcia Band. Back in 1977, I was, at the time, probably listening to ending my Kiss phase and jumping into Led Zeppelin. The Grateful Dead were a few years off. On November 4th, 1981, I was 18 years old, and it was dead ahead, man. Earlier in the year, I had gotten into the Grateful Dead, and on November 6th, 2 days later, I'd seen my first Jerry Garcia Band shows at the Capitol Theater in Passaic, New Jersey. But November 4th, 1981, there in Albany, Palace Theater, for a memorable show. Now, this show, I wrote a book, Positively Garcia, Reflections of the JGB, and I rated the best 13 shows from the years 72 through 84. I never got to volume 2 of the book. That was volume 1. And I put this November 4th Albany show as the 6th best. And as I was thinking about this podcast, I said, is that really the 6th best show? Did I overrate it? I listened to the tape this weekend a couple times, and I hadn't heard it in a couple years, and I was just choked back with emotion. I'm like, hell yeah, this is such a great show. So let me give you the lineup for the Jerry Garcia Band. We got Mr. Jerry Garcia, guitar and vocals. The one and only John Kahn on bass guitar, as always. Melvin Seals on keyboards. He started with the Jerry Garcia Band earlier in the year, and some of those earlier shows, he wasn't turned up as loud as he was at this point. At this point, they knew this was the guy. There's no doubt Melvin was the guy for Jerry. And his playing is great on this night, and it's turned up. You got Jimmy Warren on some electric keyboard. The great Ron Tutt on drums, who played from everyone from Elvis to Jerry and everyone else in between. And the backing vocal tandem of Liz Stiers and Julie Stafford. This is definitely one of the top Jerry Garcia Band configurations. I love this. I love these guys, and played a couple of great shows at the Palladium on November 10th. But in Albany, they start off with the most typical but beloved Jerry Garcia Band openings. How Sweet It Is, Catfish John. Now, it's weird. The How Sweet It Is the only song of the night, which had a little bit of a throwaway feel. It was kind of short. Jerry just getting into it. And then Catfish John, which was a very good version, but not spectacular, because pretty much everything after that Catfish John is spectacular. But when Garcia hits those some fanning notes at the end of the Catfish John, the Palace Theater is going nuts. This place was psyched from the get-go, man. I never heard a crowd like this. And if you listen to the tape, you just be blown away between the interaction between Jerry and the audience, and how the audience helped lift Jerry into another state, and Jerry returned the favor, lifting the audience into a state I've never heard an audience before. And that really all begins with the third song of the night, Second That Emotion. This great Smokey Robinson song. And these 1981 Jerry versions are, to me, are the best you'll hear. It's the right tempo, the right feel. Jerry singing it great, and the guitar jams. When Jerry starts cooking this Second That Emotion, the Palace Theater is freaking going nuts. And Albany at this time, 1981, there were so many Deadheads attending SUNY Albany. If you were on a college campus in 1981 in New York State, all these college campuses had people with Grateful Dead jean jackets, tie-dye shirts. It was really unbelievable how big the Grateful Dead were by 1981. Even though they weren't obviously not huge commercial at the time, they had built such a solid underground following, especially in this region between New York, Albany, and North. It was such a Grateful Dead stronghold. And they played a great version of Second That Emotion. Then they mellowed out just a little bit with Simple Twist of Fate, Jerry's beautiful cover of the Dylan tune. And then they turned the place upside down again, Mystery Train. And this is so up-tempo, and Jerry is so relentless in this. This playing is just nonstop, hotter and hotter, and then they take the little keyboard break in the middle, come back for some more vocals, and somehow the playing's just incendiary. It just gets hotter and hotter, and Albany's eating it up. It's probably the best version of Mystery Train I've ever. When I was listening to it, I was like, I've never heard a Mystery Train like that. I think that's the best version I've ever heard. And so we got 5 songs down. This is going to be a 2-set show in Albany, and they close out with Deal. Now, this is a 1981 deal. And the year before, they started that second jam and Deal, where it went from being, for the Grateful Dead, a great first set song, kind of in the middle of the set, could end the set, but it wasn't like a showstopper, just a great song. By 1981, they were taking that second jam to make it a showstopper, and most of the 81 versions aren't as long as they would be in 83, 84, where it was such an obvious kind of showstopper, guitar jam, showcase. But in 81, there's definitely some great versions, and what Garcia does in this Albany version is nuts. It's not long, but the guitar playing is just crazy. I'm going to play it for you, but it's almost like Garcia plays some notes, and the Albany crowd just going nuts. They're loving it. And Jerry's all, oh yeah, you like that? You're going to like this. You could almost hear the way he's thinking as he's responding to the audience. So right now we're going to check out the guitar jam from the 11/4/81 Deal. lucky Deadheads in Albany that night enjoying a ripping deal. And I love Ron Tutt's drumming on that. He just helped Jerry escalate that. And wow, just a fever pitch on that deal. Incredible stuff. So they take a break and they come out for set two, Jerry Garcia Band. And it's as if they never left the stage. It just picks off at like that fever pitch. And they open up with one of my favorite Garcia Band tunes. And this is why I love the Jerry Garcia Band in this period so much. There's a lot of songs that over the years they lost, and they went for more spiritual songs, which were all great. We all loved seeing Jerry do the different spiritual songs, and everything evolves over time. But I'm a Road Runner. It's just one of those songs that just got lost along the way. And man, it was so powerful. So they open up, I'm a Road Runner, and Jerry's just racing around like the cartoon figure in this Road Runner. It takes off, so powerful. Up to that point, this is probably the best Road Runner that was ever done by the Jerry Garcia Band. But 6 nights later, I seen him at the Palladium, and that is the best Road Runner. But by the way, if you're looking for to listen, it's not that easy to just a touch of the finger find the Jerry Garcia Band, show like it is with the Grateful Dead. We all have such easy access, whatever way we choose to listen to the Grateful Dead. So on my Positively Garcia page, I got 3 of the songs from this show uploaded there: The Deal, I'm a Road Runner, and Mission in the Rain. So you could just go to the Positively Garcia page if you want to check out any of these versions. After this great Road Runner, which finishes with a manic rush, the next song is Mission in the Rain. And there's something just so spiritual about this kind of a song Hunter penned loosely on Jerry's life up to that point. And when Jerry sings it and he comes to the pauses in this song and the crowd goes nuts, just brings back such great emotion. Like it was so nothing like seeing Mission in the Rain live when Jerry is fully invested like he was in this time period. 1981 also gives us like these probably the best Mission in the Rains you'll ever hear. My first show at the Capitol Theater, November 6th, is a great version. I thought it was the best until I heard this one. This one is insane. Albany is there. Every word, every lyric. First solo, long. Jerry's taking his time, building it to the max. Somehow, even with all the emotion out there in the audience, he didn't rush it at all. And then you get to the little keyboard break, comes right back. Everything's fluid, just totally in the moment. Once again, very long post-keyboard jam, unusually long. This is just an insane version of the Mission in the Rain. And then he comes back for the final verse, some satisfaction in the Mission in the Rain. He sings the Mission in the Rain thing 5 times instead of the usual 4. But this last solo, he goes every which way. It's the most incredible thing, one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. And then you hear the crowd erupt at the end of it. This is what it's all about. So I'm going to give you an unusually long piece here, about 4 minutes. We're going to take in that whole last solo of this Mission in the Rain. Enjoy. The mission may always look the same, but it never sounded as sweet as it did on November 4th, 81, Palace Theater, Albany. And listen to those Deadheads rip-roaring their approval for the Jerry Garcia Band. Great stuff. So we're in set 2. That's only the second song. There's still a decent amount of time to go in the show. That's What Love Will Make You Do. What a great, just a classic Jerry Garcia Band tune to die for, a classic to die for, Jerry song. Did it spectacular on this night. Jerry's kicking, and to hear Melvin and John Kahn just work the groove in the middle, get that kind of calypso reggae sound going. Such a super song, one of the better versions of That's What Love Will Make You Do. Once again, I'll point out that Palladium show from November 10th has probably the best That's What Love Will Make You Do I ever heard, along with the Roseland 83, if you want to hear some other great versions of that. So on the heels of the mission, That's What Love Will Make You Do keeps the crowd rocking in Albany. And then it's ballad time, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. And you think a tune like this might ease a crowd, relax them, sit back in your seat. The freaking Albany is going nuts during the night they drove Old Dixie Down, and rightfully so, because Jerry just in 81 and 82 sang this with so much soul. Just another great version. And then to wrap it up, another one of the classic Jerry Garcia Band tunes, Tangled Up in Blue. Garcia rips on this, but Ron Tutt, love his sound. Kreutzmann kind of took over a lot of the 82 Garcia Band shows, so they were in pretty good hands in 82, but love hearing Tutt in 81. Garcia Band had Greg Arrico in 83, who used to play with Sly and the Family Stone. So always a great drummer driving the Jerry Garcia Band. Worked wonders in Tangled Up in Blue. So you got a great show, two sets of great music here. And a lot of times Jerry Garcia Band wouldn't play an encore after a 2-set show. Usually after a 1-set show, they always played the encore. Sometimes you would just split after a 2-set show. Even in a great show like Music Mountain from June 16th, 1982, there was no encore that night. But on this night, there was no way he was leaving without giving Albany one more. And that one more was Sugaree, Shake It Indeed. So they played a very cool Sugaree, good second and third solo on it. But in the encore position, they couldn't do like an 18-minute Sugaree. So it's very hot. But I mean, what more could you ask for? Just they played all the great songs. And there's so many just outstanding versions here that come into that GOAT category of greatest of all time. But I'll double down. That Mission in the Rain is easily the best version I've ever heard. So if you get a chance, check it out. Jerry Garcia Band, Palace Theater, November 4th, 1981. And that wraps up this November 4th edition of the Deadology podcast. I'm your host, Howard Weiner. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to the podcast. I'm coming back strong every week with new material. If you want to reach out to me, I got the social media things going. Facebook, there's a Positively Garcia page. Probably better to reach me personally on my Facebook page. I tend to see that more often. Catfish Garcia 82 at yahoo.com is my email. And my website, tangledupintunes.com. My book, Positively Garcia, Reflections of the Jerry Garcia Band, Reflections of the JGB, available on Amazon. You can also see it on the website. And hey, that's it, man. Another beautiful week of Deadology in the books. I'm not sure what I'm doing next week, but whatever it is, it's going to be hot. Peace out.